my land flipping business from April 2025. You're going to see my Dispo numbers, my acquisition numbers, and all of the weird KPIs in between. So let's jump into it. Now, for context, I run my land investing business on top of running Leah and Land Insights. So very much my time is divvied up. And so you're going to see what's possible here running a land business part-time. And this is part of the reason I think that land is such an amazing business model is it's high leverage. We've got countless people inside of Leah that run this business part-time that do 100 grand a year, 300 grand a year, 500 grand a year. And you'll see during this video that it really doesn't take that many deals to build a life-changing business. I mean, we have people inside of Leah that are 20 years old, 21 years old, making $500,000 a year with no degree, no background, and no previous real estate experience. And that's how I started in 2019. No previous real estate experience, no qualifications, just a lot of hustle, a lot of heart, and a pretty strong why in terms of wanting to figure this out. So let's jump into it. Now, we're going to go through the Dispo numbers first, okay? We received a total of 15 offers. So on the market, pretty much all of our deals are on the MLS. We had 15 written offers, not verbal offers, but written offers sent to us. We accepted 8, 1 fell through. So we actually had 9, but we actually accepted 8, okay? Total sales of 9 because we had 1 direct sale that came to us from our website for a small property. Total sales value, $614,000. That's the total list price. It's not profit or anything along those lines. And that includes 2 financing deals, about $18,000, $19,000 for financing deals. So we didn't collect all that cash up front. It'll get paid out over 3, 4, 5 years. Now, we will hit on the gross profits. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to tease you guys for the final number. So make sure you stick around and I'm going to reveal the actual gross profit from our business, excluding the financing sales. We're not going to tally that up because it takes so long to collect that. And of course, there's no guarantee that that person continues to make payments on the property 6 months from now. You really don't know what's going to happen. So we'll come back here, but let's get into the fun stuff, and that's acquisition. So April was an okay month, not a record-breaking month by any means. I'm filming this in the middle of May, and we're already on track to do somewhere around 400 leads in our land business this month. So we did 320 leads last month, so we've grown since then. We're tracking really nicely, pretty much on pace with what we did in March. So you can see the previous month stats over here. That turned into a total of 107 hot leads. So that was a pretty big jump from where we were in March. Part of it is we're playing around some changes in qualification. And part of it is my team was just better at being diligent about staging things appropriately. I'm always playing the game of making sure that we're staging leads correctly, taking notes correctly. Like that work never ends. And so there are times that number is lower, even though there's still tons of hot leads, it's just they're not being labeled correctly. Although 107 was a breakout month for us. It's the biggest hot lead month we've had all year. Total contract sent 39. Again, that's a jump by 12 relative to March. It's an area we're always working on. Stage our leads correctly, manage our CRM correctly, and send more contracts. And we know when we do that, we just get more deals. It's really that simple. This business ultimately is just math, and you got to plug in the math correctly. Now, when it comes to the math, you've got to be a robot. When it comes to talking to sellers, you've got to be a human. So it's a bit of a dichotomy. You need both sides working for you. Total estimated exit price of signed contracts, $457,000. Previous month was obviously way bigger than that. Estimated pipeline profit after acquisition cost is $236,000. So again, pretty good month, a little low on the pipeline profit. And not all of that's going to materialize, of course, right? We are very conservative with how we track this, and we probably only lose a handful of contracts every year. We have a very low drop-off rate because we do things thoroughly. But you might estimate that 85% of that will come through. Now, that pipeline profit, the funny thing is I'm not going to see that pipeline profit this month. I'm going to see maybe a little bit of it in June, more of it in July, and honestly, I probably won't realize most of that until August and September. That's the funny thing about this business. Like when we go through and look at the gross profit number for the month of April, which I'll show you guys, that was not coming from deals in March. That's coming from stuff that we were working on listing in January and working on in November and September. There's a very long lag period in this business. It's very, very slow. So again, we don't feel the effects of the work that we've done this month for another 3 months or longer in some cases. Now, let's break down the individual acquisition manager performance. As I always say, this is an acquisition business, right? When you're first getting started, if you want to build a 6-figure business, what you need to do is you need to get really good at market selection, which is going to handle your pricing. If you're good at market selection, pricing is a cinch. You need to get really good at acquisitions. Now, once you want to grow beyond the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year mark, then it becomes leverage, it becomes people. And the biggest role in your land business is going to be having a great acquisition team. So I'm going to go through their numbers here in a jiffy. But before I do, if you want to learn this exact strategy that I'm running, the same playbook that we've taught to over 400 other Leah members, go over to landinvestor.co/apply. My team will walk you through why we're crushing it in the land business, how we're doing it completely different than anyone else out there, and why the fulfillment of the education in Leah gets people results like gangbusters. It's not just about having the right strategy, it's about delivering that strategy in the right fashion to your members. We run over 30 hours a month of coaching calls. We review our members' markets, their pricing, their deals, their listing, their realtors, their hires, their sales calls. We review it all. We are ultimately the backstop, the insurance policy to ensure that people can scale quickly, mitigate risk, and go really, really far in this business. That's landinvestor.co/apply. Now, back to the fun stuff. So, individual acquisition manager performance. We've got two AMs in our business, Jordan and Eva. They were assigned roughly an equal number of leads, Jordan 165, Eva 155. Total dials by Jordan 1290. Individual conversations. So you can see our connect rate 363. A lot of dials, not a lot of connects. That's just kind of the name of the game. Now, if I wanted to boost our numbers, one of the easiest things that I would do is integrate a dialer. You can make 1,290 dials in a week. You can make it in 3 days, honestly. Now, I'm not doing that with their AM team, but we are building out a cold calling team that's going to radically jump our outbound dials because we've got thousands, like 5,000 plus seller leads in our CRM. And so we need to get more visibility with them. It's one of the easiest things that we can do to just do more deals. But the trouble is if we put more dials on their plate and there's cold calling constantly, I do think that there's a bit of fatigue and a bit of dip to where when they get a hot one on the line, they're a little fatigued. They're tired. They're not in the right headspace because they talked to 75 other people that day that told them buzz off. So I want to keep their role sacred and separate it from a lot of the noise, the minutia, the friction, having to dial, 500 old leads in a day is tiring because you're going to get told no a lot. You know what I mean? Old leads are old for a reason. They probably have some problems with them that need to be solved. And so what we want to do is kind of create a setting and closing dynamic to where the setter can go and reactivate and then pass off to the closer, which would be Eva and Jordan. See, Eva outpaced Jordan a bit by total dials and connect. It flip-flops every month. They kind of one person's higher, one person's lower. It's not really a consistent trend there. There's a lot of factors that lead into that. So if someone's working a ton of really hot leads, so it does jump month to month because ultimately some months you're going to have more leads that you're working that are hot leads that require a lot of back and forth with title companies or realtors or whatever. Like there's just a lot going on that will drop your dial. So we see that flip-flop quite a bit. Verbal offers made by Eva 160, verbal offers made by Jordan 123. This is pretty typical. Jordan's usually a little more conservative in the offers that he makes, although we would like to get that number higher. Even though he had less offers, he did have more contracts sent, 20 versus Eva's 18. Total contracts move forward to the KPI sheets. You can see they end up having the same exact numbers for the month, both 4 signed contracts. So you can see there's slightly different ways of getting to similar outcomes, okay? Total hot leads, 44 for Jordan. Total hot leads, 63 for Eva. Now, you can look at this here and you can say, wow, he only had 16 hot leads in March. How is that possible? Because you had the same number, roughly the same number of total inbound leads. Well, that is really just a CRM management problem. It's not actually indicative of how many hot leads were truly generated in the month of March. And this is why CRM management is everything. Because if it's not tagged and staged correctly, you're not going to treat it correctly. If you don't tag it as a hot lead, you're not going to treat it like a hot lead, and we're going to let those opportunities slide by. This takes constant work, and you never get it to a place where it's perfect. It's always nurturing, hand-holding, reviewing. And that's why we had a bit of an uptick this month because we made it a priority. And it really is always a priority for us, but we still make mistakes there. You can see that their gross pipeline profit numbers are pretty much the same for the month. So again, they have very different styles. They might not totally see that here in their KPIs, but they do have a very different approach. I would say Eva casts a wider net. Jordan is more typical to go very deep on just a few leads. It's kind of their style, and ultimately it works. And so you do have to play to the strength of your team members, right? I've learned over the years that people get to similar outcomes in slightly different ways. There are some core fundamentals that we can't change, but especially when it comes to sales, you need to have some tolerance for people to kind of work within their strengths, okay? Now let's move down to interesting KPIs. I'm always fascinated by averages or numbers. I don't know, I just find these KPIs fascinating. Okay. Average gross profit per contract signed for Jordan, 33,000. Average gross profit contract signed for Eva, 25.5. We're doing good. Like honestly, our numbers have improved over the last 2 years. We were more typically doing deals that were $15,000 in spread per deal, and we've bumped that up into like the mid 20s pretty consistently, which is awesome because Eva had a crazy huge month last month. But we typically float somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000, which is great. Now, again, those deals don't always end up selling at that price. So that is the expectation. Again, we're very conservative in our underwriting. We're not taking the highest sale in the market and saying, oh, we're going to sell that. No, we know the game pretty damn well at this point. So we usually sell within like a 10 to 15% range of that. Sometimes higher, more times not, and maybe a little bit lower. And then I would say once a quarter, you have just like the bomber deal, like the deal that just like, whoa, we got blindsided. Like we thought we were going to make 25 grand on it and we made like 14 grand on it. So that happens too. We can't always predict it. Just stuff stranger than fiction, honestly. Stick around in this business and you'll experience a lot that's stranger than fiction. And then on the inverse is also true. You'll hit home runs too. Where you're like, whoa, that sold way faster or for way more than I anticipated. So it does kind of cut both ways. The problem that people have with pipeline profit is that there's a lot of discretion there, and most people are horrible at underwriting deals and therefore horrible at generating a pipeline profit number that's reliable. Right. So it does take being very conservative, both conservative with how you comp your deals and then conservative knowing that even if you were conservative in your comp, you're probably still going to sell underneath that. It's just the name of the game. Average turnaround time contracts sent versus signed, Jordan 8.25. I don't know what's wrong with that number. That seems a little weird. 8.25 contracts per sign. This was supposed to be 8.9 for the last month. Okay. So we had to send 8.25 contracts to get one signed. How many leads it took to generate one hot lead? 2.99. That's a pretty remarkable number. A third of your leads are hot. Typically more, I would say 1 in 4, 1 in 5 for us is pretty typical. Now, the part that you've all been waiting for, let's talk about the gross profits. Drum roll, $179,000, excluding the finance sales, probably closer to like 182, 185 if you factor in the finance sales. So yeah, pretty awesome. Can't complain. Good month. Shaping up to be an even better month here in May. And if you guys have been enjoying these KPI reviews, I'm happy to do more of them. Good, the bad, the ugly, good months, bad months, great months. I'm happy to share it all. But in order for me to do that, I need you to do two things. One, give this video a like. Two, give it a comment. Let me know that you do like this kind of content and I'm happy to make more of it. And if you want to be super special, well, share this with someone that's thinking about getting started in real estate or land and maybe show them what's possible. The truth is I do run this part-time. I think that I could probably double these numbers if I was, full-time, 40 to 60 hours a week. But the nature of my circumstances do not allow for that. So I'm happy with where we're at. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Talk soon.